What's going on, guys? Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about quitting smoking cigarettes. So this is definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done and something I get asked a lot about. Yeah, so, since I was like 16 years old, something like that, I chain smoked constantly, like all day and night, didn't drink water, just coffee and cigarettes all day long. That's literally all I did while I was skating, while I was drinking, just that's it. Literally only thing I consumed. There was almost like a humor in like treating myself bad, right? And like people would say things, and it was almost like I embraced this kind of like, you're just treating myself badly, right? And something I've learned now from quitting smoking is there is some sort of like a nihilism with it, or a lack of appreciation for yourself with smoking. I think this is across the board, but I could only speak for myself. That's just kind of how I felt. But yeah, it's like a lack of, I didn't think I deserved as much as anyone else, or, I just didn't treat myself well. That's the bottom line, right? I was just constantly harming myself. And you don't really realize that when you're in it. It just seems like, whatever, just smoking, no big deal. But, looking back, I definitely wasn't, just appreciating myself, and I was, not taking care of myself as much as I should. So I basically just chain smoked into my mid-20s, right? Until one day I wanted to quit, like I had the urge, and I made a bet with a friend, and it kind of just sparked me to quit, right? Like everyone was just shocked that I quit. Lasted 1 week, and then I went out drinking, went to a show, and just lit up a cigarette and kind of threw the whole thing away. So, the drinking definitely was something that, if I went out drinking, it was just like a sure shot I was gonna pick up the cigarettes again. After that, once you like rip it off like a Band-Aid once, when you go back, it's so much harder to do it again. So it would be like years until I even thought about attempting it again, right? So I just went on chain smoking for another 3 or 4 years till I was about 28 or 29, something like that. This is when I got my 2 DWIs, and my life just like completely crumbled. I owed all these people money, and just everything was just in shambles, right? And so that left me with a decision to do something, right? So I was harming the people around me by my own actions. Like I said before, I didn't really care about myself and that I was hurting myself, but once it started affecting the people around me, that's when I had to change something. So I decided to quit drinking, right? And that was like the first thing that snowballed everything. Was when I quit drinking. It was painful at first, and you have to adjust to everything, new friends, new habits, finding a passion. You got to fill in that hole of going out with people and all the time spent doing that. You kind of flip-flop it, wake up early, find passions, things like that. So I quit drinking, and over time, I just started to see things more clearly, right? My body was getting healthier, flushing everything out. 6 months, a year later, I'm starting to think to myself, wait, why do I smoke cigarettes? I'm literally just destroying myself. As you start being healthy, when you do something unhealthy, it just becomes so clear. Wait, why am I doing this again? So, but you're just stuck in the habit, right? I was stuck, so I just kept doing it. I made YouTube videos, which also spawned from the quitting drinking. And that kind of became its whole other thing, right? I just started learning so much about myself, pushing myself, having a passion and some meaning. I'm showing up to the skate park, and as my channel's growing, I'm seeing kids, smoke cigarettes at the park and watching me smoke. And I'm thinking is that because of me? Are they watching me? I'm an older guy, are they watching me smoke cigarettes and copying me? And that's when I started realizing that every single thing I did was affecting someone in some way, shape, or form, right? So if I could just do, what I wish, how I was affecting the world, then I should do that, right? So I didn't want to set these kids on a bad path. So that's when I decided, all right, I just can't. I wanted to be a positive influence as best as I could on myself and everyone around me. So that's when I decided to quit, and it definitely wasn't easy. Like it was, I thought about it for a while, kept tossing it around. I would always think about it, and I started paying attention to my behaviors. And every time I smoked, it was almost like an escape, right? It was like I'd have to leave work for a second and take a quick, 5-minute smoke break. And it's almost like to relieve myself of the stress, or like I'm in a fight, oh, I gotta smoke, or I'm working on something hard, gotta take a break and smoke a cigarette. And I learned now, once I quit, it is an escape. All these things, smoking, drinking, it's like you're refusing to face reality. And once you start taking these things away, it's like you're scared of reality almost. But when you take them away, everything almost becomes easier, like works the inverse. You start to learn to face things day in, day out, all day long, and they just become normal. So life becomes easy and normal, and then you eventually just appreciate life for what it is, and you don't end up chasing these highs, running up or down, or just just chasing like emotions, running away from things. You're just grounded in reality. You just or at least that's what happened to me. So as I quit, my body was purifying, and it almost happened naturally. Like the quitting smoking went away. But it wasn't just that easy. The habit was so difficult to kick. I had to use something, right? And the only thing I knew was that one bet I took years ago, where, I guess the challenge for me is what worked, like someone like betting me. But it wouldn't work if someone like it was a half-ass bet, like, I bet you $20, or like, it had to really have meaning and be a real bet. Sometimes that's hard to manifest from someone else, but for me, it was my cousin and a pro skateboarder were on a trip, and they just were like, what are you doing to yourself? This and that. They kept talking, and they really didn't think I could do it. Like, they truly didn't believe I could do it. And he bet me that he would promote, the pro skater bet me, he would promote my wheel company on his Instagram, which he has a huge following. So in that moment, I thought to myself, do you really care more about smoking than like, your passion? Like maybe helping people with your company, or, your livelihood? Like, do you really love smoking that much? And in that moment, I was just like, you know what? I'm taking this bet. I'm proving you guys wrong. And then, from that moment on, haven't touched a cigarette. So that's what did it for me, was kind of like, the challenge. But, everyone's different. Everyone has a different path. I chose to do it cold turkey. So in that moment, I quit smoking and caffeine, because I just linked coffee and cigarettes so much together that I just couldn't see a world where I could have a cup of coffee and like wouldn't want a cigarette. So quit those both the same day, and it was torture. I mean, it was literally, I woke up that next day and had like neck pain, back pain. I was angry and miserable. I ended up going to work anyway, but I just remember like all day long I was sitting in bed, like shriveled up in bed. It was like I was, it wasn't a fun experience, let's say that, right? So I think it was about 3 or 4 days where this happened, kind of just like, caffeine headaches and withdrawals and stuff like that, until eventually I broke through. And it was about, like 4 days, maybe a week the most. And then once you break through, as long as you fight that occasional craving, it's basically over. Like, it's not hard anymore. It's more of just the habit, or like caving into, some repetitive thing you used to do. Like for me, it was driving, and I'd be 5 minutes from home. I'd pass a certain sign, and I'd be like a milestone cigarette. Like, all right, I'm gonna smoke now. It's done right before I get home. So if you fight off those things, you're basically in the clear. And so ever since I quit smoking, and drinking, my clarity has improved just over time, just continuing to improve. And then it spread to my diet and like how I treat myself and other people, but it all, to me, stemmed from the drinking. Like, that was the first thing. So, other people might not have the same issues as me, like they're more balanced. Maybe they can have a couple of drinks or one cigarette occasionally, but that's not for me. I had to just get rid of everything, kind of cold turkey, and become a healthy person. We went from like, I'm unhealthy, I don't care, nothing matters in this world, to the complete opposite, right? So that's just what worked for me. Hopefully it could work for you. And if you guys have any questions at all, let's leave them in the comments below.